Close your eyes for a second and imagine the moment you walk down the jet bridge. The air changes. The smell of jet fuel hits you. The sounds of the terminal fade away into a low hum. You step across the gap, leaving the solid earth behind and entering a pressurized metal tube. Whether you realize it or not, in that specific second, you are making a silent, unconscious wager. The moment that heavy airlock door seals shut behind you with a mechanical thud, you are betting your life. You are betting everything you have that this massive machine holding you 30,000 feet above the earth will not fail. You trust the physics. You trust that every single bolt out of millions of rivets is tight. You trust that the invisible software, ghostly codes governing the flight controls, is real and tested and safe. And most importantly, you trust the humans. You trust that the company building it cares more about you and your family sitting next to you than they care about their quarterly stock price or their annual bonuses. For decades, nearly a century, that was a safe bet to make. We never even questioned it. We took it for granted. We slept soundly on flights, believing we were in good hands. Because Boeing was not just a company. It was a cathedral of engineering. It was the absolute, undisputed gold standard of aviation. There was a famous saying spoken by pilots, airlines, and travelers alike. If it's not Boeing, then I'm simply not going. But today, that trust is shattered. The cathedral has fallen. Boeing is no longer an icon of safety. It is a crime scene. We have dead whistleblowers, men of conscience found with gunshot wounds in hotel parking lots. We have door plugs blowing off fuselages in mid-air, exposing passengers to the freezing void. And we have 346 innocent people, fathers, mothers, children, dead, scattered across 2 continents in 2 preventable, horrific crashes. This is not a story about an unfortunate accident or bad luck. This is a story about a corporate murder. To truly understand the magnitude of this crime, we cannot just look at the crash sites. We must first look at the victim. We need to see Boeing as it was, long before the rot set in. Before the year 1997, Boeing was ruled by a very specific and rare breed of people. It was ruled by engineers. Not accountants, not Wall Street sharks, but men and women who didn't just build planes, they breathed aviation. Their headquarters in Seattle wasn't just a corporate office filled with suits and spreadsheets. It was a workshop. A dusty, noisy place, smelling of oil and ambition, where designs were born. Even the CEO knew the name of the mechanic, tightening the screws on the assembly line. They ate in the same cafeteria. They were a team. They took massive risks, but they didn't gamble with money. They didn't gamble with safety. They gambled on innovation. They pushed the boundaries of physics just to see if they could. In the 1960s, they literally bet the entire value of the company, every single dollar in the bank, to build the legendary 747, the Queen of the Skies. A plane so big, people said it would never fly. If that plane had failed, if the aerodynamics were wrong, Boeing would have gone bankrupt overnight. But they did it anyway. Not because it was cheap, not because it was easy, but because they wanted to build the greatest airplane the world had ever seen. For them, profit was just a byproduct of engineering perfection. Money was the fuel, not the destination. Safety was not just a rule in a book. It was their religion. It was written in their DNA.
Great work, Boeing team.
But across the country, far away from the rain of Seattle, a virus was quietly growing in the shadows. A failing competitor, desperate and hungry, known as McDonnell Douglas. In 1997, the unthinkable happened. The event that marked the beginning of the end. Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas, bringing the enemy inside the gates. It was sold to the public and the press as a merger of equals, a marriage of giants. But insiders knew the truth. They called it something else entirely. They called it Harry Stonecipher's hostile takeover. Harry Stonecipher was the CEO of McDonnell Douglas, and he was different. He was the anti-engineer. He didn't care about aerodynamics. He didn't care about the elegance of a wing design. He was a ruthless corporate shark. He famously walked into a meeting, looked the Boeing engineers in the eye, and said, "You need to stop acting like a family and start acting like a business." The soul of the company was under attack. The engineers felt it immediately. Think about that. The family culture that built the B-17, the 707, the 747, the safest planes in history, was now considered a liability, a problem to be fixed, a disease to be cured. The culture changed almost overnight. The atmosphere turned toxic. Engineers were explicitly told to stop innovating, stop dreaming, stop asking what if, and start cutting costs. Every single cent mattered more than the product itself. If a high-quality titanium part cost $100 to manufacture, they were ordered to find a way to make it for $50, regardless of quality, regardless of the risk. Quality control was no longer about safety. It became a spreadsheet. But to truly kill the old Boeing culture once and for all, the new executives realized they had to sever the head from the body. In 2001, they made a decision that baffled the entire aviation industry. They did something truly bizarre, something no car maker or plane maker ever does. They moved the global headquarters. They packed up their offices, their files, and they left. They moved away from Seattle, away from the rain, away from the legacy, and most importantly, away from the annoying engineers who actually built the planes. They moved to a shiny skyscraper in downtown Chicago. Why Chicago? They claimed it was neutral ground, but that was a lie. The executives simply didn't want to hear the complaints anymore. They didn't want to hear about safety issues, or design flaws, or quality control problems. They just wanted to hear about Wall Street, and stock buybacks, and profit margins. They intentionally created a physical distance of 2,000 miles between the people sweating on the factory floor, holding the wrenches, building the machines, and the people in suits counting the money in the boardroom. And in that massive gap, in that silence between Chicago and Seattle, the disaster began to breathe. The panic, the phone call. In the year 2011, a single, short phone call completely shattered the silence inside Boeing's executive headquarters. It was Gerard Arpey, the CEO of American Airlines. For decades, American Airlines had been exclusively Boeing. They were the loyal customer, the backbone of Boeing's order book. Losing them was simply unthinkable. But on this call, Arpey delivered a message that hit the Boeing executives like a physical punch to the gut. We are thinking about buying airplanes from Airbus. This was not just bad news. This was catastrophic. It was an existential threat. Airbus had just launched the A320neo. It was sleek, it was modern, and most importantly, it was highly fuel efficient. It promised to save airlines millions in jet fuel costs. And it was absolutely killing Boeing in the market. Orders were pouring into France, while the phones in Seattle were silent. Boeing panicked. The executives looked at their options. They knew they needed a new plane to fight back. A clean sheet design to crush Airbus once and for all. But they needed it yesterday. Designing a totally new plane from scratch takes time. It takes 10 years of research, wind tunnel testing, and certification. And it costs billions of dollars. They didn't have 10 years. They barely had 10 months before American Airlines signed the deal with the enemy. So, under immense pressure from Wall Street, they decided to cheat. Instead of building a new plane, they went to the scrapyard of ideas and took a 50-year-old airframe, the classic 737. A plane designed in the 1960s. A plane that sits so low to the ground that baggage handlers could load it by hand without a conveyor belt. And they decided to strap massive, heavy, modern LEAP 1B engines onto it. It was a physics nightmare. The engines were too big to fit under the wing. It was a mismatch of parts forced together by accountants, not engineers. It was a Frankenstein monster, and they called it the 737 MAX. But there was a fundamental, inescapable physics problem. Because the plane sat so low, the new engines kept scraping the ground in simulations. So, the engineers had to move them forward and up, extending them ahead of the wing. But this shifted the center of gravity. the aerodynamics changed completely. When the pilots applied full power during takeoff or a steep climb, the massive engines generated lift themselves. The plane's nose wanted to tilt up, dangerously high, pushing the aircraft towards a deadly aerodynamic stall. So Boeing engineers, instead of redesigning the plane to be safer, added a secret line of code. A software patch hidden deep in the system's architecture called MCAS, the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System. MCAS was designed to do one thing, and one thing only. It relied on a single, tiny sensor on the side of the plane called the angle of attack sensor. If that single sensor told the computer the nose was too high, the software would force the nose down. Automatically, aggressively, without the pilot even touching the controls. It would move the entire horizontal stabilizer at the back of the plane, a massive wing surface overpowering the human pilot's strength, without the pilot's permission. And here is the crime. They didn't tell the pilots. They didn't include it in the flight manuals. They didn't include it in the iPad training modules. They removed all mention of it from the documentation. Why? Because if they told the pilots about a new system, the FAA would require simulator training. And training costs money, millions of dollars per airline. It would have slowed down sales. So Boeing promised the airlines no new training required. It flies just like the old 737. Just get in and fly. On the morning of October 29th, 2018, the bill came due. Lion Air Flight 610 takes off from Jakarta, Indonesia. A beautiful, clear morning over the Java Sea. Inside the cockpit, Captain Suneja and his co-pilot are climbing through 2,000 feet. Everything feels normal. Suddenly, the angle of attack sensor on the left side of the fuselage malfunctions. Maybe it was hit by a bird. Maybe it was miscalibrated. But it sends bad data to the computer. It tells MCAS, "We are stalling. Push the nose down now." MCAS wakes up like a ghost in the machine. It pushes the nose down, hard. The control column jerks forward in the pilot's hands. The pilot, confused, fights back. He pulls up with everything he has. "Fly the plane," he yells. "Fly the plane." He uses the thumb switches to trim the nose back up. For a few seconds, he regains control. But 5 seconds later, MCAS pushes down again, overpowering him, terrifying minutes. It was a tug of war between man and machine. The cockpit was filled with alarms. The stick shaker was vibrating violently, making a loud mechanical rattling noise, warning of a fake stall. Clack, 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 clack. The pilots checked their manuals, frantically flipping pages, shouting at each other, trying to find a solution. But there was no mention of MCAS. It wasn't there. They were looking for a ghost. They were fighting a system they didn't even know existed. They didn't know that simply flipping 2 cutout switches would have saved them. But how could they know? Boeing never told them.
Trying to compensate. The call conduits are all fine.
The computer thought it was saving them, but it was killing them. Dead silence. The plane dives into the ocean at 450 miles per hour. 189 people, men, women, and babies, vaporized on impact. So, what exactly did Boeing do? Did they ground the planes immediately? Did they rush to fix the software? Did they apologize to the grieving families? No. They blamed the pilots. In private meetings and public statements, they arrogantly suggested that the Lion Air pilots were incompetent. They said American pilots would never make that mistake. They claimed the plane was safe. They claimed the software was perfect. They gambled with human lives that it wouldn't happen again. They bet the house on it. Five months later, March 10th, 2019, a sunny Sunday morning in Ethiopia, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 takes off from Addis Ababa bound for Nairobi. It was the exact same thing. A carbon copy disaster. Just moments after takeoff, a sensor failed. MCAS activated. 6 minutes into the flight, the nose pitched down. The pilots fought for their lives. They pulled until their muscles burned. They screamed for help. But the plane won. The machine overpowered its masters. It slammed into a field, traveling so fast it left a crater 30 feet deep. 157 more people from 35 different countries died. 346 lives extinguished. Not because of bad weather, not because of pilot error, not because of a bird strike, but because of a single line of code designed to save money for shareholders who would never set foot on that plane. While the corporate executives, sitting in their air-conditioned, soundproof glass towers in Chicago, were busy celebrating their stock returns, popping champagne, and counting their multi-million-dollar bonuses, a completely different, darker reality was unfolding on the factory floor. Enter John Barnett. His friends called him Swampy, a nickname given with affection from his days in Louisiana. Barnett was not an outsider. He was not a radical. He was not a troublemaker. He was a loyalist, a legendary quality control manager who had served the company faithfully for 32 years. He bled Boeing blue. But when he was transferred to the prestigious new plant in North Charleston, South Carolina, To oversee the production of the advanced 787 Dreamliner, he walked straight into a nightmare. He saw things that violated every single principle of aviation safety he had learned over 3 decades. He walked the factory floor with his flashlight and found metal shavings, razor-sharp titanium debris hanging from the ceiling like spiderwebs, falling into the fuselage. These weren't just dust. They were conductive metal slivers. Workers, under extreme pressure to meet impossible delivery deadlines, were simply ignoring them. They were sealing up the walls with the trash still inside. Barnett realized the horror. These shavings were cutting into the sensitive wiring that controls the aircraft's flight systems. Imagine that. A billion-dollar aircraft carrying 3 errant souls brought down by a piece of scrap metal short-circuiting a wire. But it got worse, much worse. Barnett discovered critical defects in the emergency oxygen bottles. The very system designed to keep you alive if the cabin depressurizes at altitude. He pulled them off the shelf, he tested them, and the results made his blood run cold. 25% failed to deploy. Let that sink in for a moment. In a real emergency, at 35,000 feet, 1 out of every 4 passengers would pull down their mask and get nothing. No air, just silence, left to suffocate in the dark. Barnett did what any good engineer, what any moral human being would do. He wrote up the reports, he flagged the defects, he marched into his boss's office and demanded they stop the line. He expected them to thank him. He expected them to fix the problem. But management didn't say thank you. Instead, they attacked him. They gaslit him. They told him he was slowing things down. They humiliated him in front of his team. They reassigned him to meaningless desk jobs, trying to break his spirit. They even started spying on him, watching his breaks, monitoring his emails. But Swampy was made of tougher stuff. He was stubborn. He retired in 2017, and he filed a massive, explosive lawsuit against the Asian giant. He became a whistleblower. He was ready to burn his own legacy down just to save lives. Fast forward to March 2024. John Barnett travels back to Charleston, the scene of the crime. He is tired, he looks older, but his eyes are sharp. He is there for his final legal depositions, the moment he had been waiting for 7 years. For 2 days, he sat in a room and grilled the Boeing lawyers. He was exposing everything. He was winning. But on the morning of the 3rd day, Saturday, March 9th, the day he was supposed to finish his cross-examination, John Barnett didn't show up. His lawyers called his phone. It rang and rang and rang. No answer. Panic set in. They called the hotel. They sent the police to do a welfare check. A day in, they searched the parking lot. They found his orange pickup truck parked alone, quietly in the corner. They shined their flashlights inside, and they found John Barnett. Dead. A single gunshot wound to the temple. A silver pistol still in his hand. A crisp white piece of paper on the passenger seat. The coroner almost immediately ruled it a self-inflicted wound. Suicide. Case closed. Move along. But the story doesn't end there. The dead man had left a warning. Just days before his death, Barnett was eating dinner with a close family friend, a woman named Jennifer. He knew the pressure he was under. He knew who he was fighting. He leaned in, looked her in the eyes, and he said something chilling. "Jennifer, if anything happens to me, don't believe it. I am not suicidal. I am fighting. If I die, it wasn't me." Those words now echo from the grave. One death under suspicious circumstances is a tragedy. It can be explained away. But two, that is a pattern. Less than 2 months later, May 2024, Joshua Dean, another brave whistleblower, a former quality auditor at Spirit Aerosystems, a key Boeing supplier. He was young, just 45 years old, a fitness enthusiast, a man in the prime of his life. Suddenly collapses. Doctors were baffled. Out of nowhere, a mysterious, fast-acting infection consumed his body. MRSA, pneumonia. His lungs failed. His organs shut down one by one. Within 2 weeks, the healthy man was gone. 2 dead whistleblowers in 2 months. Both were warning the world about defects. Both were about to testify. Both were thorns in the side of a billion-dollar empire. And now, both are silent. January 5th, 2024. A cold, rainy Friday evening in Portland, Oregon. Alaska Airlines Flight 12-82 pushes back from the gate. The engines spool up, whining in the damp air. It is a brand new 737 MAX 9. It still has that new plane smell. Boeing had delivered it to the airline just 8 weeks earlier. Inside, 171 passengers and 6 crew members are settling in for the flight to Ontario, California. The plane roars down the runway, lifts off, and begins its steep climb into the dark night sky. They pass 10,000 feet. The ding sounds. But the pilot keeps the seatbelt sign on, expecting turbulence. Everything seems normal. A mother is holding her baby. A teenager in seat 26A is listening to music. Then, at exactly 16,000 feet, boom. A deafening explosion, like a bomb going off, rocks the entire fuselage. The cabin instantly depressurizes. The white fog of condensation fills the air. Oxygen masks drop from the ceiling, swinging violently. The wind is screaming through the cabin, roaring like a hurricane. It rips the shirt right off the back of the teenage boy in row 26. It sucks headrests and mobile phones out into the night. Passengers turn their heads to the left, squinting through the wind, and they see nothing. The wall of the plane is gone. A gaping hole the size of a refrigerator opens up to the twinkling lights of Portland below. just the open sky and the terror of falling. Miraculously, by sheer blind luck, no one was sitting in seat 26A directly next to the hole. If they had been, if the plane had been at cruising altitude, they would be dead, sucked out into the void. The pilots managed to land the plane safely, but the question remained: how does a door just fall off a brand new airplane? In the 21st century, the National Transportation Safety Board launched an immediate, aggressive investigation. They found the door plug in a teacher's backyard. They analyzed the metal. They looked at the factory logs from the Renton factory. And what they found was not a complex metallurgical failure. It wasn't a hidden design flaw. It was something so incredibly stupid it is hard to comprehend. That door was held in place by 4 simple bolts. Records showed that in September 2023, Boeing workers had opened the panel to fix some damaged rivets nearby. They fixed the rivets. They closed the panel. They painted over it. But they simply forgot to put the bolts back in. There were no bolts. 0. They delivered a passenger plane carrying human beings held together by nothing but gravity, puts, and luck. But the humiliation of Boeing was not confined to the atmosphere. The rot went higher. It soon reached orbit. June 2024. After years of embarrassing delays and billions of dollars over budget, Boeing finally launches its Starliner spacecraft, a competitor to SpaceX. 2 brave veteran astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, are strapped inside, smiling, giving thumbs up. It was supposed to be a simple 8-day mission to the International Space Station, a victory lap to prove Boeing could still fly. But as soon as they reached the vacuum of space, the machine began to fail. Thrusters malfunctioned. Helium leaks sprayed gas into space. The spacecraft was limping. For months, NASA engineers looked at the data. They looked at the risks. They debated. And finally, they made a decision that destroyed Boeing's reputation forever. It is not safe to bring the astronauts home on Boeing. The Starliner capsule was sent back to Earth, empty. A ghost ship. And the astronauts? They were left stranded on the space station, watching their ride go home without them. Their 8-day mission turned into an 8-month marathon, stuck in space, floating in a tin can, until February 2025. And the ultimate insult? They have to wait for Elon Musk and SpaceX to come and rescue them. The humiliation is complete. In July 2024, the hammer finally dropped. Boeing, the once proud American icon, the arsenal of democracy, agreed to plead guilty. Guilty to criminal fraud. Boeing is now officially a convicted felon. But what was the punishment for killing 346 people? for defrauding the government? A fine of $243 million. For a company that generates $70 billion a year? That is not a punishment. That is a rounding error. That is a parking ticket. The executives who made the decisions, the ones who cut the costs, they walked away free with their golden parachutes. But while the courts failed, the workers fought back. September 2024, 33,000 machinists walked off the job. They shut down the factories.
We'll never be defeated.
They stood on the picket lines in the rain, holding signs that read, "Save Boeing from itself." They weren't just striking for money. They were striking for respect and for the right to build safe airplanes again.
No peace! No justice! No peace!
So, what is the lesson of the fall of Boeing? It is a warning written in blood and metal to every company on Earth. You cannot cut your way to greatness. You cannot fire the engineers and expect the accountants to build a safe machine. When you prioritize profits over people, the math eventually stops working, and the bodies start to pile up. The next time you board a plane and you settle into your seat and look out the window at the wing flexing in the wind, think about the hands that built it. Think about the whistleblowers like John Barnett who gave their lives to warn us. Boeing, the corporation, may survive. They are too big to fail. But the Boeing we loved, the Boeing that reached for the stars, the Boeing of the golden era, that company died a long time ago. This was The Ledger. If you want the truth, subscribe.